So, who's ready to make the switch? The Nintendo Switch presentation gave us our first full glimpse at what Nintendo's new hybrid system can do, and showcased several games set to release on it this year. With mixed to positive responses so far, there's a wide range of optimism, skepticism, and the usual doomsayers. But there were some notable absences from the lineup announced at the conference, and one of them was a pretty big surprise. There are many rumors pointing toward the newest edition of Super Smash Bros. Getting a Switch version just like the 3DS and Wii U versions before it, and yet, we didn't hear anything about it. But despite the no-show, I don't think we have much reason to worry. The conference focused on brand new games and announcements. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, another updated port, was relegated to a trailer released afterward, and it's coming out in April. The likely scenario? They're saving this Smash 4.5 for a little longer to make it a grand reveal of its own. So we're stuck waiting to learn their plans for new content on this port that is, let's be honest, probably a thing. But who's to say we can't speculate a little, based on what was revealed during the presentation? Let's take a look at Nintendo's recent announcements and see how it affects the odds of certain characters joining the fight in Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo Switch. How about we start off with Nintendo's Rising Stars, as what we thought was merely an enhanced port of Splatoon turned out to be a sequel. The first game was a critical and commercial success despite being a new IP on a stumbling system, and now Splatoon 2 is poised to take that momentum and run with it with a release for the Switch this summer. What does this do for the Inklings? Well, let's be honest, if we're getting more newcomers with this Smash port, they were already frontrunners. I've touched on the Inklings, why they were likely passed on for DLC but have a strong chance now, and how they could fight in the first episode of Challenger Approaching. But Splatoon 2 does offer new things that could expand the Inklings' variety and their costumes and moveset potential. New clothes and new hairstyles would help each alternate Inkling stand out in battle. The new Splat Dualies give another weapon type that could be worked into their arsenal, Rapid Jab maybe, as well as a combat roll to use as their roll dodge animation. And any one of the many new specials could be used as a final smash. But another popular candidate got a surprise shot in the arm, and by that I mean he's actually doing something again. Exploding back to life is Bomberman, with the surprise Super Bomberman R promising the series' signature multiplayer craziness. Now up to 8 people will be able to face off in strategic matches full of power-ups, cross-shaped explosions, and praying you don't accidentally pin yourself in a dead end. No one knows what prompted Konami to stop running their company into the ground to make this happen. My bet's on Nintendo putting cash forward to commission it. But it's here nonetheless, and it has people talking about Bomberman's chances for Smash. So does this give him a shot? Well, potentially. This gives Bomberman a presence again, on a new Nintendo system no less, and it shows Konami is willing to collaborate with Nintendo in some way, shape, or form. However, there are still a lot of unknowns here. Is this a sign of Konami turning a page or just a one-off thing? How amicable was this team up? How long has this been in development, and would it have been on the Smash team's radars? It may be easy to jump from this surprise new Bomberman game to holy crap, Bomberman has to get into Smash now, but it's more complicated than that. Just because something feels true at first doesn't necessarily mean it is. I think Bomberman has a chance now, but I'm hesitant to say his odds are particularly high until we have more information. And the same goes for Snake too. Even if he's a beloved veteran, jumping to conclusions doesn't help any of us. Moving on, let's turn the page to some newer characters, starting with Nintendo's newest IP. Springing to popularity thanks to how absurd and humorous its premise is, ARMS combines boxing with a few third-person shooter elements, featuring an oddball cast who fights by throwing long-distance punches with their spring-loaded arms. It took about 5 minutes after the trailer dropped for people to start suggesting we'd see one of its main fighters in Smash. Support so far is focused on Springman and Ribbon Girl, who seem to be the default characters. With how mimetic ARMS is right now, it's kinda hard to tell who's actually interested in the two of them and who's just doing it for the lulz. But here's the thing. Either way, I don't see it happening yet. Sakurai seems to hesitate on bringing brand new IPs into Smash. His plan all along for Splatoon's release was the meat costumes and trophy we got. He waited to see how their franchise would do to make sure it wouldn't just be a flash in the pan, and I think that'll also happen here. After all, we hardly know anything about ARMS as a whole. We don't even know if there's enough to build a full moveset around, and it'd be rather unfair to put the dev team on the spot and expect them to conjure something up. For now, let's just wait instead of jumping the gun. There's also another new face, and one with some interesting potential, coming from a game next to no one saw coming. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 promises a vast adventure in a world similar to, or maybe even directly descended from, its now legendary predecessor. We know little about it so far, but there may be a promising future in store for its main protagonist, who, based on some translations of the script that appears in the trailer at one point, seems to be named Rex. Not gonna lie, I'm worried I'm jumping the gun here. Xenoblade 2 is slotted to be out before the end of the year, but the rumors are putting this Smash port as being released no later than the fall. This means that under normal circumstances, Rex's window of opportunity will open too late, unless one of a few things happen. If Smash 4.5 takes longer to release than we suspect, or if we get another round of DLC, or if by some crazy odds there ends up being rolling updates with a new character released every few months, this new star of a rising franchise will be in perfect position. But there are other questions we also need answered. What is Rex's moveset potential like? Would his fighting style and repertoire of combat arts stand out compared to Shulk and all the other swordsmen we have so far? What is his suspiciously Minato-like weapon capable of? These are all things we need to know, and things the Smash developers need to know before they'd even begin building a character concept. But if things break the right way, we might be talking about Rex being a frontrunner in less than a year's time. For our next candidates, we're going to step away from the Switch presentation for a moment and into something else revealed recently, and probably draw up some bad blood because of it. A mini direct a few days after gave us our first glimpse of Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia, a remake of the second game in the series that tells the story of a conflict between two nations protected by sibling gods with conflicting views on how humanity should be guided. After all the controversy and salt surrounding Corrin, you know there are going to be people sarcastically expecting this game's dual protagonists, Alm and Celica, to get a free pass from Sakurai. I'm here to say it's not that simple. Going off Sakurai's words, there was actually a lot of deliberation over whether Corrin's inclusion would be pushing the envelope too far. Corrin's unique angle of being a shapeshifter won out over those concerns, but if they were fully aware a sixth Fire Emblem character would be controversial despite two of them being a clone and a semi-clone, they'd know full well that a seventh would exacerbate things even further. Even as a Fire Emblem fan, I think neither of these two would be very high priority unless the dev team put a concept together they thought was absolutely amazing. Not very likely, but it's still something worth considering. As for which of the two would get the nod in that unlikely scenario, it's hard to say. Alm has slightly more importance to the plot, but Celica could have a unique angle with her access to Gaidon's strange and unusual magic system. Finally, we have one more game to look at, the one that most of us have been looking forward to for years. After waiting so long and with so many delays, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is just a month away from being in our hands. So much of this game's lore is still left for us to learn. The fate of Hyrule and its protectors, Link's memories, and the curse of the Calamity Ganon. There are many questions we need answers to in order to figure out who among this game's cast could have a shot at joining the fight. But Breath of the Wild is special in that we might have several characters to choose from. The red-scaled Zora, who fights with a trident and possesses some strange, extraordinary abilities. The elder warrior Goron, with a calm nature that belies his fighting spirit and a strange weapon that combines a sword and hammer. The Falco-like Birdman, who has showed up in 2 trailers now. Or maybe even this incarnation of Link himself, with a massive repertoire of weapons and tools at his fingertips. Smash 4 has gone without a Zelda newcomer so far, due to extenuating circumstances. Nearly the entire cast of consistent characters is already present on the roster, and its major characters who've only showed up in one game have either fallen out of relevance, been too low priority, or were brought in as assist trophies instead. But could Breath of the Wild's release mean the time is right for the legend to gain another presence in Smash? For now, it's a secret to everybody. So even despite the lack of a Smash announcement, there's quite a bit we can take from the Switch presentation and other recent news. From popular picks like the Inklings and Bomberman, to new faces from Zelda and Xenoblade, to even a new IP, the fates of many characters have changed with this newly revealed information. Sure, it's all just speculation, but hey, nothing saying we can't have fun with it as long as it doesn't get out of hand. Real quick shout out to Nathaniel Platier, again, for allowing me access to his arrangement of the theme from the recent Breath of the Wild trailer. His own channel features some amazing music, so go check it out when you get the chance. Another quick mention, this time for my Patreon page. If you've enjoyed this analysis, please consider showing some support. I'm not very well off due to circumstances beyond my control, so anything you can do will give me that much more of a means to keep going. And make sure you also check out my main series, Challenger Approaching, if you want to see examples of character concepts for potential future Smash fighters. We'll be waiting a while longer until we get official word on Smash on the Switch, but when it happens, I'll be sure to follow up and analyze how the situation has changed. See you then.